Les Landis is the president of Landis & Associates, a management consulting firm that guides organizations on how to improve culture and communication. Today he's going to be talking about the power and purpose of imagination and free will in the workplace. Welcome, Les Landis.
So I'm going to make a bold declaration. Everything great that's ever happened in this world happened first in somebody's imagination. Those are the words of Astrid Lindgren, who is a Swedish author, and for sure, this wonderful gift of imagination is a truly amazing gift. So here's a dilemma to consider. Imagine if you couldn't imagine. Imagine no imagination, no new ideas, no dreams to make life better, no hopes, no ambitions. What would that be like? How would life be different? Well, you don't have to look too far to find answers to those questions, because that's what life is like for a lot of people in the workplace. There's no time for imagination, no listening for how to make things better, just do the job, get it done. Now, interestingly, the world is somewhat similar for all other living creatures on the planet. They pretty much take life as it comes, not as it might be. From what we can tell, they don't contemplate things like building cathedrals to worship or rocket ships to fly to the moon. They pretty much engage in a routine that gets them through their lives, and they adjust to whatever shows up in their environment, mainly for comfort, safety, and survival. They cannot conceive of things that do not exist in the natural world. In other words, they can't imagine. Now, human beings, on the other hand, can look at the world or close their eyes and see nothing at all, and they can ask a couple of really key questions that really differentiate people from all other living creatures. Why? What if? We not only can ask those questions, we're compelled to ask those questions. It's part of our DNA as human beings. So if that's true, why is life in the workplace for so many people such a tedious, sometimes soul-sucking, imagineless experience? And that's because of one main reason, that this wonderful gift of imagination is both as powerful as a rocket and as fragile as a flower. You nourish it, give it life, it will take you to the stars and beyond. Clamp it down, fail to nourish it, and it will wither and die. But that's only half the story. For all of its remarkable potential, imagination is powerless without the other attribute that makes human beings quite distinct from all of the living creatures on the planet, and that's free will. So I'm going to ask you to finish this phrase. Free as a bird, right? We all get that one. So what are birds free to do? Give me some things.
Fly.
What else?
Eat.
Do what? Eat worms, right. Make a nest, absolutely. So that's right. Those are all true. But one of the most common things I hear from people is they're free to poop on your car after you get done washing it, right? So, for all of the humor of that, here's the serious truth. Birds, like all of the living creatures on the planet, aren't free to do anything. Everything they do, from the minute that they start chirping at your window too early in the morning, they build a nest, they get a worm, it's all predetermined by a preset program that dictates everything they do every minute of every day of their lives. Now, people have programs too, just like all of the living creatures, mostly for the same purpose, comfort, safety, and survival. But we alone are able to wake up in the morning, look at the clock, and say, you know what? I know the early bird gets the worm, but doggone it, I'm going back to bed. In other words, we can bypass, because of our free will, we can bypass our animal programs, and we're the only creatures who can do that. Now, here's the thing that's most important. Imagination without free will has no power. Free will without imagination has no purpose. Let me say that again. Imagination without free will has no power. Free will without imagination has no purpose. So what does that have to do with joy in the workplace or performing at your best? Freud says that the two most essential qualities for human happiness are love and work. And I take the work part a step further. I say for people to be truly happy, they need work that fuels their nature to feel free and imagine. Now here's what that means for organizations that crave innovation. To the extent that we diminish the capacity of human beings to exercise their imagination and free will, they cannot excel. They cannot go above and beyond. They stay stuck in their animal programs, doing the same thing over and over and over again, unless they're coaxed or coerced to get out of that safety comfort zone. They're going to continue doing the same thing over and over again. No reason to do anything different, especially when the dominant feature of the culture is do what the boss says. Here's another thing. Human beings, especially adult human beings, because of our desire to feel free, do not like being told what to do. In order for people to perform at their very best and collaborate to the fullest, they must have control over the decisions and actions that affect their lives. So when we realize the crucial connection between imagination and free will, we've taken the first critical step to truly transcendent performance in the workplace. So if that's true, why aren't more organizations doing that kind of thing? Fact is, a lot of them are trying, but they're tweaking around with all kinds of one-off activities, and they're getting caught in what I call the program trap. Instead of making fundamental changes of the systems and the processes that they work with every single day, their daily work, they are injecting things like incentives and bonuses and suggestion programs and Employee of the Month awards and town hall meetings and bells and whistles and all kinds of stuff. Now, there's nothing wrong with most of that, but by itself, it will never get an organization soaring to the top because it doesn't meet the essential 3 S's for success. It's not systemic, it's not substantive, and it is not sustainable. So what does work? Now, it's obvious that there are a lot of jobs that have the opportunity to use imagination and free will more than others. But I'm going to give you 4 things that will work for anyone in any organization. And as I'm telling you these things, imagine what they will mean for your world. So the first thing is create a habit for continuous improvement. Now, hear me on this. A suggestion program is not, I repeat, is not a sustainable process for continuous improvement. So remember what I said about people. We're half human, half animal. And neither one of them can be ignored. They're both part of our operating system. So the only way to be able to have systematic continuous improvement, a sustainable process, is to create a habit to break the habit of doing things over and over again the same way. That's what we're drawing on both aspects of our nature. You get that? So, one of the typical ways that a lot of organizations are trying to do that kind of thing is with what's called regular huddles. The key to making them productive is to make sure that you schedule them on a regular basis and then do 3 main things during those huddles. First is to make sure you're clear on the indicators of success for your team, for that group. Look at those numbers. Talk about the stories behind those numbers, because numbers without stories are worthless. Second, invite ideas for improvement ideas, things that will fix things that aren't working well and things that will improve the things that are working well. You probably have heard of the phrase that good is the enemy of great. Well, I say great is the enemy of better. So always, constantly be thinking how to improve things, no matter how great they are. Third thing in the huddle is have everybody express gratitude, acknowledgement, and appreciation for the contributions that the teammates are making to your work. Second thing, this one is based on the reality that we all slip and fall sometimes. And when that happens in your organization, which it inevitably will, remember this phrase: always treat people as the source of the solution, not the cause of the problem. I'm going to say that again. Always treat people as the source of the solution, not the cause of the problem, even if they are the cause of the problem. Now, if it's not obvious, there are a number of reasons why you should do that. First of all, people feel like crap when they make mistakes in the organization, and when you criticize it, you just amplify the main thing that keeps people from really performing, and that's they get defensive, right? Nobody in the history of the world has ever done their best work when they're feeling defensive. When people are treated like the source of the solution, without blame, shame, or judgment, without the angst and embarrassment of suffering from the mistakes and the things that they did wrong, they can focus their attention on imagining how to make it right. Now, it's not easy to do. We all have knee-jerk reactions when things go wrong. Just remember this, that we all make mistakes. And the true measure of a person's character is not in avoiding the stumble, but how you get up after the fall. Third thing to do is to create your own personal habit for continuous improvement. A daily habit. Every day, every morning, wake up and identify one thing that you're going to improve that day. Make it small, something easy to do. Don't stress yourself. And at the end of the day, before you go to bed, be sure to give yourself credit and acknowledgement for having done that. And over time, those little incremental improvements, think 1% a day, will have a big difference on both your performance and your sense of well-being. And here's the fourth thing, last thing. We've all heard about the traditional performance development process. Usually doesn't work very well. So go beyond that and help people follow their dreams. There's a wonderful program out there right now. It's called the Dream Manager. A lot of organizations are using it. And it really is a systematic way to help employees identify and pursue the dreams that they want to go after in their lives. All supported by the employer's program through the performance development process. It's a big, big gift that can make a big difference in people's lives, and certainly their engagement in the organization. So those are a few things that you can do. I know you can imagine more. And in the end, if you really want to get people tuned in, turned on, and eager to go above and beyond, focus on two main things. First, be a champion and an advocate for this remarkable gift of imagination and free will that exists uniquely in all of us. And second, take that formidable force and put it into the daily systems and processes that people can use to improve and perform their best all the time. So imagine what the world would be like if we could do that. Imagine the kind of impact it would have on innovation. Imagine the impact it can have on freeing the human spirit. And then choose, because of your free will, to do something about it. Take action, because that's what we were born to do. Unique among all creatures on the planet, that is what we are able to do. So be a force for imagination and free will in the workplace, and do everything you can to make it possible for everyone else to do the same. Thank you.
What I love about this talk is it's the reminder in organizational life of absolutely how critical innovation and creativity is, and how important it is to drive it in our organizations with process and content and rewards. And when we do that, we have a chance to win in the marketplace, and if we don't, we're dead.
What I love about this talk is that as a neurosurgeon, the issue of imagination, innovation, and free will really goes to the heart of what we are as human beings. Because what separates us from all other animals, okay, even our nearest cousins, the chimpanzees, with which our DNA is 99.5% or even higher, is the use of our brain. And it's the imagination, innovation, free will. That is how we can develop the world and leave the world a better place, especially when we are talking about the approaches to tackle poverty in the poor performing nations with poor leadership and so on.
Sometimes I get so caught up in doing my work that I forget that imagination has to fuel innovation. Les's talk is a skillful reminder to me to lead with innovation all the time.